This influencer and self-proclaimed business guru claims he built a success empire on Instagram, teaching people how to manifest abundance. But then, I guess he just manifested himself an Interpol arrest warrant, you know, because that's just like a normal thing that happens in business. But this is Bryce Garrett Cleveland, a self-proclaimed high school dropout turned millionaire entrepreneur behind the beauty brand called Scalpa, and he was just arrested in Medellin, Colombia. Authorities say they caught him under an Interpol red notice for multiple fraud-related crimes in the United States. But if that name sounds familiar, you may have seen him on your For You page flexing financial freedom. Or maybe you saw him try to allegedly sell some fake diplomatic passports, because this guy, he's been balancing Instagram Reels and an alleged illegal distribution business for a minute now.
You know, people ask me all the time, what are my 3 secrets to the success that I've created to master my own destiny, to create my life design? Number 1 is you are not your circumstances.
Why do all of these guys come across as cult leaders? Like, I swear, there's just such a nasty trend of these like financial guru influencers who are turning into these like pseudo-spiritual cult-like leaders. Like, hey, follow me in my wisdom and pay me money and you too will become wealthy. Like, it's just so played out at this point. I'm bored. Why are so many of them spawning out of nowhere? But hey, I mean, at this point, I'm really close to making a video on all these like lifestyle grifters, because as I stated previously, I'm beyond bored of it. I'm actually starting to get sick of it. And clearly they are predatory people that are farming a whole bunch of money from people who didn't know better. But back to, I guess, the deflated version of Wes Watson over here, because something tells me no one asked him, hey, what's your 3 secrets to success? Like, that's an oddly specific question to get. And obviously, like, no one should be taking his advice. As Colombian police say, Bryce was taken into custody last week in a joint operation between National Police Interpol and Migration Colombia. He apparently entered the country legally in 2023 after being wanted in the US for mail fraud and multiple fraud-related crimes in different states. And that's the kind of fraud where you use mail or shipping services to push a scam. Basically, if your crime involved mailing anything shady like fake documents, fraudulent invoices, refund checks, yeah, congratulations, you're now in a federal case. Officials say he'll be facing an extradition back to the US where he has the marshals waiting. And honestly, probably a few people who paid for his abundance training are wondering where their refunds are, because bruh, imagine buying a manifestation course by a guy who's like globally wanted by Interpol and then gets extradited back to the US because he literally fled the country. So he's not going to jail in Colombia. They're just holding him until all the paperwork is done. But when he lands in the US, that's when things get serious, because mail fraud alone, that can carry up to like 20 years in prison. And that's before you stack on any of his other alleged crimes on top of that. Like, just to put it lightly, the marshals aren't going out to Medellin, Colombia to collect you for some parking tickets. It's pretty serious at that point. So who even is this guy? Well, Bryce has spent the last decade branding himself as a self-made millionaire, a motivational speaker, and according to him, a CEO of the universe? Like, come on! He's apparently the founder of Scalpa Industries, a company that started a scalp micropigmentation, basically tattooing fake hair follicles on bald heads, like kind of like what Fuzi got. But I guess at some point they pivoted into a beauty e-learning empire. So yeah. Alpha male bro into course seller bro pipeline. That definitely happened here as well. And I mean, if you go by his own marketing, Scalpa is world's largest online training platform for aesthetics. But if you ask anyone else, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's like an alpha male course site wrapped in motivational quotes. Awesome. I mean, this dude just loves to remind people that he dropped out of high school at 16. Like, it's in his Instagram bio. It's in his LinkedIn headline. It's in his motivational book. This guy essentially made high school dropout as his personal brand. But he tells this big rags to rich story about living in his car behind a McDonald's, flipping used mattresses, and eventually making millions before age 20. And to be fair, some of that might be true, because like local business reports from Rochester, New York did show him flipping liquidation goods and opening warehouses back in the day. But $1 million before 20, before the digital age, I'm kind of skeptical on that one. Regardless if those numbers are true or not, that was a way more respectable portion of his career, because when the second act came, that's when things went really downhill for him, because that was the guru era. Because this is when he rebranded himself as a spiritual entrepreneur, a guy who essentially preaches about quantum physics, abundance, and the power of visualization, all while driving Lambos and filming morning mindset videos. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I gotta go out in the backyard, I get under the tree, and these trees, they like speak to me. I got to be out in nature because we are one of nature, right? We're a part of it. We're of this world, right? We're born into this world. We're a part of all of this. You know, it's funny, they did a test. It's a Silva method, right? And they had 3 different plants, and one of them, you know, you talked to the plant and said, you're not going to grow. You're not going to do anything. And the one that said, you're going to grow. You're amazing. And this tree this plant went, and the other one's like, all floppy. We are, when I say wizard, let me take it a deep further. We are gods and goddesses, right? God put himself in us, right?
Right. Again, how do they all sound like cult leaders? And why are so many people falling for these kinds of people? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Dude essentially took the basic human experience of, wow, it's pretty nice being in nature, and then he just turned it into some like manic rant on how trees speak to him and how important it is to go out and be in nature. Like, everything is so unnecessarily tense with people like this. I don't know why. But Bryce, he built a following of almost 3 million Instagram followers, although his account is now private. There he taught mindset mastery and vibrational wealth. What in the schizo hell is vibrational wealth? That sounds like something that's labeled on a crystal that you would buy from like an old white lady in Sedona, Arizona. Like, I feel like he just like whacks a gong or something and goes, y'all will be wealthy. You will be wealthy, visualize wealth, visualize the abundance, you will be rich, pay me like $500. Yeah, I don't know. But behind the scenes, he was allegedly running an illegal distribution operation that caught the attention of Interpol. Because fast forward just a few years, and Bryce reinvents himself as the CEO mindset guy. He walks on podcasts talking about how he walks in the shoes of abundance and how he channels quantum energy and how you are not your circumstances.
You're not your circumstances. Where you are today is where you decided where you were in the past to get you here, right? When I think of thinking outside the box, it's outside of your circumstances. You are not that, right? You can realign.
My guy, your circumstances right now are in a holding cell in Medellin, Colombia. You are in no position to coach anyone. I watched one of his podcast appearances and he just comes across as one of those like midlife crisis spiritual dudes who sell vapes to high school kids. I don't know how that all intersects, but it seems to intersect right through this guy's embodiment. But he went on the show to talk about fasting, meditation, licking trees for energy, and explaining wizard versus warrior mindset.
You know, that's the difference between a warrior and a wizard. And I always think this in my mind, and it's something that I talk about a lot. Warrior, they set goals. It's like, you know, this business is going to make that money. That is this is that. Mm-hmm. The wizard really taps into quantum physics.
Brother, what does that mean? Excuse me? But how did he make his money? Well, Scalpa marketed itself as world's largest online beauty training company, selling certifications and starter kits for things like microblading and aesthetics. So he's not actually really selling a product, he's just selling courses. Who would have thought? I mean, every time one of these like abundance guys pops up, like the whole formula is the same. They sell mindset training. It's never like, hey, this is how to build something. It's always like, here's how to vibrate your way to success. But first, give me $499, please, monthly, and then your vibrations will turn into money. Bros will be selling vibrational courses about vibrations, and then they'll sit there and be like, look at this. I made $100,000 off of my vibrations. Selling vibration courses to y'all. Get rogged! It's just so bad. It's so bad. It's so predatory. I feel awful for the people who are actually buying this stuff because clearly they're either at a very vulnerable state or they're just way too trusting of people. They just eat the BS. And that's also a whole different problem. Because like what's so wild about all this is clearly selling stuff like this really works. Or at least until it doesn't, because these dudes, they build their whole persona off of the illusion of wealth, the rented Lambos, the desert mansions, the whole rise and grind videos, because that image is essentially their whole product. You can't sell someone on being rich if you don't look rich yourself. But eventually the bills start catching up to them with all this manifestation, and that's when things start getting weird. And that's when I guess like selling success turns into selling illegal documents just to keep the appearance of looking successful. Like at some point, these guys stop manifesting and start counterfeiting. And it's really hard to tell what was legit and what was smoke and mirrors. But reports say he branched into ERC tax credit consulting, real estate, and vape investments. See, I told you he gave off the energy of a guy in the vape industry. So his latest business venture just involves selling alleged fake diplomatic passports. You know, than normal CEO stuff. And the irony is endless here, because this dude's mugshot is also 5'9", so hopefully he doesn't pull a Wes Watson and freak out when people point out that he's not 6 foot, because by me calling him a deflated Wes Watson, ironically, he is the exact same height as Wes Watson.
No one can check my height and take a picture of it, so you better quit saying I'm 5'4". Say I'm 5'3". Online, they just be joking. They're like, you're 5'4".
But also, let's be real, he has way more problems to worry about than his alleged height. Here is the overall timeline. In 2023, he left the United States while reportedly under investigation for multiple fraud-related offenses. By 2025, he was arrested in Medellin, accused for a large-scale fraud and even selling fake diplomatic passports. The dude essentially went from high school dropout millionaire to Interpol dropout fugitive. That rebrand is pretty wild. So that's the current update for Bryce, the manifestation guru who made a fortune manifesting wealth until he allegedly manufactured some fake government documents. And now he's even facing federal charges, extradition, and possibly world's most awkward LinkedIn rebrand. But hey, maybe he can just like visualize and manifest his way out of prison. Or maybe he'll just write a new book, How to Attract Abundance and International Warrants. I feel like I've said something around the lines of, yeah, she girl bossed her way a little bit too close to the sun. And in this case, to make an equivalent quote, he alpha mailed a little bit too close to the sun here. So, he found out, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. And I'll probably make an update video after he's been sentenced, or if something crazy happens during his case. So make sure you subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.